What's going on, guys? It's been a little over a month, so I thought it would be a good time for an update video on the tank. For the most part, things are going really well. A couple of little hiccups here and there that I'll talk about, but for the most part, tank is doing really well. One of the recent things I've dealt with just this week was I was getting a lot of cyanobacteria building up kind of on the sand bed back in there. And on various corals, and so I used red slime remover, and it worked great. I did a dose and then waited 48 hours and then did another dose, and it looks like it really has done the trick. The tank is looking great. There's a couple of little spots of cyano still in here, but it has cleared up most of what was going on with zero ill effects for any of the corals. Everything is doing as well as it was before. Absolutely no issues. No die off or anything like that. The fish were fine. I turned the skimmer off for a couple hours, and then when I turned it back on, opened the valve all the way. But aside from that, no issues. Most of the corals are doing great, with a few exceptions, and I'll talk about that. Most of the SPS is doing really well. This Monty Cap colony, which I had crushed with a pH spike, is now completely healed and growing like crazy. It's got some new scrolling going on, which is awesome, and just doing really well. That Miyagi tort that kind of grows out of it is doing really well. This one here, right in the middle of the screen there, I'm getting some STN, or I don't know if it's being eaten by something, but you can see that white edge there. And I've had a couple of other colonies do that. So I'm not sure what's going on, but like this purple, I don't know if it's a bonsai, is doing really well. The colors aren't coming through great on the camera right now. The lights are all on right now. The torches are doing really well. The Slimer continues to grow really well. The green Monty, this was just a tiny little piece that I had broken off that's now growing really well, as is this red one here doing the same thing, growing well. I added this little carpet anemone, this mini maxi carpet anemone, is growing well. Fish are great, no issues with any of the fish, same fish, hasn't changed anything. A lot of growth and deepening of the color on this guy. This was kind of like a lightish pink before, and now, especially the branches that are closer to the light, it's really interesting how the closer to the center of the tank, you can see a real darkening of the color in there, but it's doing really well. Those mushrooms have grown a lot. I didn't intend for them to be there. One issue with this Miyagi tort colony, and you can see it there, one of the branches is STNing. There's some tissue necrosis going on, and it's kind of peeling back underneath. I don't know if it's from not enough light or whatever, but I've dealt with the same things like this. Red Planet has had a similar problem. Camera doesn't want to focus. And this frog skin, something similar. So I don't know what the problem is. I've got new branches growing on this blue Millie that hides back here. A whole bunch of new branches growing on there, which is cool. So I don't know. It's kind of hit and miss with some of the SPS. Some of them, like the blue bird's nest here, great growth. This little guy that was just accidental frag is now a colony. So I've tried to just enjoy the tank for what it is and stop fighting the corals that aren't succeeding, or stressing about the fact that some of the corals aren't succeeding, and then just enjoy what is working well. And so, by and large, tank is doing great. No major changes. I just, aside from treating the red slime, I'll just kind of give you a full tank shot here. Aside from dealing with the red slime, no changes to the tank whatsoever. I've been sort of toying around with the possibility of switching from the Kessels and T5s to Radions. It would be a major investment. I'm looking at, $2,400 for 3 Gen 4 Pros, which is what I would want. I've been thinking about it. I haven't made any decisions yet. But it's sort of in the back of my mind. I would have to run it by my lovely wife because it's a huge investment. I could probably sell what I have and get maybe $1,000 for the used Kessels, so to offset some of that cost. So it's just been something I've been thinking about. We'll see what happens down the road if I decide to go that way. But by and large, this tank is doing really well. No issues, no chemistry issues. Still using a ton of Kalkwasser, like 2,200 mils a day of Kalkwasser. But the pH stays between like 8.1 to 8.2 during the day, and is doing really well. So in that regard, it's not a problem. And I'm not going through a lot of two-part. Over here, this tank is also doing really well. So I don't know if you have seen the other videos. I added the Kessel A80 just for a little bit of extra light, and it's doing really well. Just straighten it up. Corals are doing great. I added a couple of like a green tipped or a green polyped toadstool leather. It's like a piece of dragon's breath that grows in here. I've sort of just let this tank do whatever it's doing. Those zoanthids look great. Fish are great, clownfish. There's the same fish, 2 clownfish. This little guy, let's see if I can get him to the camera to zoom, is a pygmy hawkfish, and there is a yellow watchman goby that hides in there somewhere. But the fish are all doing great. No issues in here. Everyone's doing well. I had some bubble algae, and I get this algae growing on the sand. I just pick it off as it comes in. And I added a emerald crab to deal with the bubble algae. I actually just vacuumed the sand in this tank for the first time in months the other day. So I really don't do a lot with this tank aside from cleaning the glass. There's the yellow watchman goby he just took off. He's very shy. I've got snails growing on the glass, baby snails growing. So this tank is great. I really enjoy sort of sitting and watching this tank. No real changes down in the basement. Tanks are doing well, fish are doing well, corals are doing well. I teach, so I'm off in the summers. So the tanks have really just been sort of in a holding pattern. I'm not adding a lot, not a lot of corals, not a lot of fish. I'll come back over to this side. Just really enjoying the 2 tanks more than adding anything fish or coral wise. I'm not sure what I would add, even if I did. Maybe a few pieces of SPS at some point, some more LPS corals. But by and large, the tank is doing really well. I always appreciate your guys' comments on the videos, so feel free if you have questions about the system. It's all tied together, so this tank, the 180 that we're seeing now, and the 25-gallon cube that I just showed you a minute ago are all one system. So if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the comments section below, and I'll look forward to hearing from you guys. So talk to you soon.